you recall, the airline saw major changes in protocol after 9/11. Experts say the same will hold true for airline travel after the COVID-19 pandemic slows. Joining me with more on what big changes we can anticipate when flying post-pandemic is Seth Kapln, co-host of the Airlines Confidential podcast. Welcome, Seth.
Good to be here, Alana. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm excited to talk about this, and let's get right into it. You were saying that you have 4 M's that you anticipate coming into fruition post-pandemic. Can you get into what those 4 M's are for people?
Yes. So they are masks, minimal service, middle seats maybe being blocked, and money. So going back through the masks, anybody who's ever traveled to Asia knows that over there, even when there's no immediate threat, you get on a flight, sometimes you see some people wearing masks, and that's because of things that happened in the past there, the SARS threat and others. And look, this is happening to us. We're all becoming permanently a little more germophobic, whether we know it or not. And even once the worst of this threat passes, hopefully before not too long, you're going to get on a flight 2 or 3 years from now, and you're going to see somebody wearing a mask. It's just something that we're always going to think about. Minimal service, just in the past few years, finally, the major airlines began giving us some of the things that they took away back when they were all struggling in the early 2000s as free snacks and economy, the Stroopwafel if you fly United, Biscoff on Delta, those sorts of things. They've stopped doing that. The free beer and wine and economy even on a flight to Europe. They've stopped doing those things on health grounds right now, Alana, because they just don't want the flight attendants having more interactions with customers than they need. But don't be surprised if those things don't come back right away. Another thing those airlines have been doing, Alana, blocking middle seats. Delta was the first to begin doing that. Others have been doing that too. Now, look, right now, that's easy, right? Not that many people are flying. What's going to happen when that means turning away customers? Are they going to continue doing that? There are airlines around the world that have said they're prepared to maybe have to do that, at least in the medium term, if not forever. And then in the end, money. What's it going to mean for us in terms of airfares? At first, airlines are probably going to have to discount to get us back on board. Once health authorities say it's okay to start flying again, right? People are going to be afraid. People are not going to have that much money because of what's going on in the economy, all the unemployment. But later on, if they're blocking middle seats and if they have to try to get all the same money from fewer people, that could mean higher airfares.
Now, do you suggest that people buy tickets now while they're inexpensive for future flights?
Yeah, the game kind of has changed because normally you kind of have to say, well, I don't want to wait until the last minute to book a flight, but maybe I don't want to book too early, maybe a month or two before you travel. In normal times, you get the best deal. Right now, a lot of the risk has gone away because airlines are so flexible, right? So I booked a trip recently for October. I have no idea whether I'll actually be able to take it, but I know that if I don't, I can always get a voucher, or if the price goes down even more, right, get a voucher and spend just part of it on that flight and use it for future travel. On the other hand, though, again, with all that economic uncertainty, look, we have to think about just our lives in general, and should we be laying out even just a little bit of money. One tip for people who are holding airline tickets, Alana, if you're thinking, I got a flight a month from now, I don't think I'm going to travel. This is one of those times in life when procrastination pays. You don't want to rush right out and cancel that flight, even though there's that extra flexibility now, because, if you cancel on the airline, yeah, they're going to give you a voucher. They're not going to charge you a change fee. That's great, better than how it used to be. But if they cancel on you, depending on the airline, they're probably going to give you an option to get a full refund rather than just a credit. And again, right now with all that uncertainty, I think actual money is even better than a voucher.
It certainly is. Now, if you are going to book that future trip, there is something to consider when selecting your seat, because you have a study to share with us that shows that your seat does matter.
Yeah, and this dates back to before coronavirus. A couple years ago, a study out of Emory University down in Atlanta found that people sitting in window seats get sick a little less often than people sitting in other seats. Nothing magical, Alana, about the window. It's just that you're not surrounded by as many other people. And again, this was, they were talking about colds and things like that then, but especially now, yeah, that's good advice, really, in good times and bad. And they said people who stayed seated, didn't get up a lot, also got sick less often. So kind of common sense, but something that we never really had to think all that much about in the past, and it's now very much on, I think, all of our minds.
It is. It's top of mind. There's a lot of things to consider and prepare yourself for when you're flying. Seth Kapln, Airline Confidential podcast, thanks so much for joining me. Really interesting information.
Thank you, Alana. Stay safe.
Coming up next on Massive